So we're back after 4 months, or since we talked about the patrol when we were off-roading, and today it's almost done, but not done yet. This time is a bit different. I have the owner who is recording, and I'm going to talk about it because I think it's better that I explain. So let's start with the paint. So that was the biggest problem with it. Like it had a lot of rust over the years, and even the previous owner who had it didn't do anything to it. So the previous color was this military green. It was alright for bush bashing, I guess. But why? But the reason for us painting it was mainly because of rust. And I think people would know the patrol, the typical rusting points are here. And there was rust forming at the rear windows. But everything has been sorted out. We'll probably include images of us repairing it. I think the worst off part was the front windscreen. It was held together by hope and faith. Yeah, but now everything's back together, new seals everywhere, new seals all around. Um, it's becoming hard to find the patrol stuff, even like trims like this. We were lucky enough to have another donor body for it. So if you guys can actually source it and keep it, best to keep it now. It's becoming premium. Although, yeah, if you are building an off-roading vehicle, then you may say you don't want it, but this owner is a bit more particular. Like even though the car is going to be used still for mainly off-roading, uh, he still wants it to at least look pretty. And I think that's a good thing. A lot of people forget that just because you're building a off-roading vehicle, you don't want to have the car done up nicely because you say, oh, I'm going to scratch it up or I'm going to beat it up anyway. But at the end of the day, look, 90% of the time you're on the road before you actually go in the jungle. So to at least have the car looking presentable, I think it's just something nice to look at. That's my opinion on it. And then what we did for besides that was we added back the roof rack. The car did come with a roof rack before. We took it off because the roof was really going, the gutter was going, so we didn't want to clamp it on and risk even worse for it to just fall off. So now since we have repaired the gutter and everything, we've mounted back the roof rack. It's a 3/4 length roof rack, and we mounted two 22-inch light bars in front and also side facing lights. These are mainly for just when the owner is navigating at night. It makes things easier. Rear, I think there is just a single LED bar light, which will not be connected. All this will not be connected to reverse or things like that. You can't. So it's illegal to do that. You have to have a separate switch on it. And by right, you actually have to have it all covered up. So we would eventually get a cover for it. But even then, if you really look at the laws in Malaysia, you are supposed to apply for like permits if you want to put things above the headlights. In our case, since the car will not see a lot of road time, it just spends most of the time only going out during the weekends. I mean, so maybe we can get away with it. It is actually built really well. The front bumper came with the vehicle, but everything else we built. We also closed up there was two signal holes in the front. We actually closed it up because there was no point for it. And one more side is actually mounted with the electronic water pump, the EWP from Davis Craig. So that helps to keep the cooling down. Since now let's move on to the engine. The major work was actually we went from a 10 mm fuel pump to a 12 mm fuel pump. And if anyone's wondering what went bigger, I'll see if I have an image of what actually we mean by 10 mm and going to 12 mm. And we also upped the injectors by a 0.25. Nothing too crazy because we didn't want any knock, massive knock. We can't really adjust timing on this. So we didn't want any crazy knocking. Smoke wise right now, she does smoke quite a bit, but we do have the boost. Turbo is a top mount turbo, which I would include image as well. Top mount turbo. We have a external wastegate 38 mm from Turbo Smart. It's thing we wanted to push out 20 psi, which is what we can do with what I believe is a safe point for the patrol. And I think that you see a lot of patrols there in the forums or whatever, they say, oh, they get a snap crank from boosting high. But if you also read further down, yeah, she says a lot of them are from manual vehicles. So flywheel and clutch not being balanced, banging on the ref limiter and then dumping clutch. I say they are more the purpose of why you snap cranks than actually just snapping cranks. I mean, these things are built really well. If you take them apart, you'll realize that they're built very well. And this being an automatic, that actually, I would say you'll brake less, but right now driving it, you're sort of in the category of braking things because it feels like there's a lot of power on tap. So yeah, the owner still doesn't have RCVs in this, so maybe that's something he might have to consider down the road if he wheels hard. I mean, not with these tires, with this 37s that he has on, it's a bit more forgiving because you slip a lot. But once you put on traps or you put trapdoors or centipedes or something like that where they grip, the sudden grip, then you'll be starting to smash on things. You know, maybe you want to take a shot on the of the top mount exhaust manifold. And why we opened up everything was we want to blanket the turbo because right now it's sitting on top. So heat is a thing. So we're gonna blanket turbo, wrap the downpipe, get a downpipe fitted with the EGT gauge, and have a boost gauge fitted on as well, which is a must. So this is a short thing. I mean, I'm no expert, but normally what happens is once you start pushing a lot of fuel, your EGT numbers grow. And when your EGT numbers grow, that's when you get like, piston meltdown. That's what kills a diesel. So you sort of compensate by upping the boost. But if you up the boost too much, then that's when you start to see temperatures boil and water temp go up. And water temp is a issue with the TD42 even from factory. Without doing much to it, it already has a problem of water temp. So we have to find the right balance between power and power reliability. But of course, we still pushing it towards the power side just because it's a car that is we're not looking to drive like doing overland stuff and things like that with this car. So we would probably go a bit wild on power wise, and we would know soon enough once when we go for the dyno. So right now, Leong took out everything apart because we're just changing the wastegate springs, welding up the internal wastegate hole for the turbo. So the turbo size is it's a GT 3037, relatively big turbo for the engine, but with the fueling, we have more than enough fueling from the fuel pump to handle it. So it's not really a problem. What I did notice is as we were starting the car, there was some sound from the electronic water pump. So we would have to take that out and see if there's any issues with it. But what's good is because we have Oshoil here. Oshoil is actually the company that brings in Penrite, Davis Craig, PWR. So support is good. So we'll take it apart, see if there's any issues, and contact them and see what we are to do. So for gearbox wise, it's still stock. The only thing we added was a PWR cooler, which I think it's a must for any of the automatic cars, automatic vehicles out there. I have killed uh, a couple of auto gearbox, and I can tell you that having a cooler makes a lot of difference. If you can, having a ATF gauge to monitor ATF temp is even better. So that's something that you all can consider when you all build your car. Exhaust wise, it's a 3-inch, basically a 3-inch all the way. It has a box at the back. Uh, nothing too crazy. Pretty simple. Intake wise, snorkel is 4-inch stainless. So the only limiting thing I think anybody who owns a Patrol would know that the cover of the air filter box is where there's a restriction of airflow. But besides that, it's actually a pretty decent air box. And besides that, yeah, how about the paint job? So just coming back to the paint job, we went with a sort of a dual tone, but not the normal dual tone that you will see on the most Patrols split the lines in a different place. Like from factory, they have a different place where they split the lines. But I think what we did was slightly better. I mean, I have a couple of images showing it with the car with the hood closed and things like that. I think overall it turned out pretty decent, even for a car that is built for wheeling. Like it's geared, I mean, it's geared for it. It's got lockers. It's got what 18,000 pound winch. It's got 12,000 pound winch at the back. But the thing that we have to solve with this car is one more thing that it was always a problem was the auto gearbox runs a computer. So it's a computer for the auto gearbox. And he kept getting no power to it. And what we traced it to was this is a 24-volt vehicle, by the way. And what happened was the fuse box that is in the vehicle So because over the years, people were trying to tap power from it and they were trying to pull like 12 volt out to convert things and things like that. Even the entire housing was damaged. So we managed to get from Nissan, the original fuse box, and that's what we're going to replace the inside with. And hopefully that's the only that was the only issue with the car that was in reliability wise that we had a problem with, besides obviously running high temperatures. But then temperature was sort of sorted out with the EWP when we added that, and the much bigger radiator that we added as well. Yeah, I think. Oh, and then interior. So we did a bit with the interior as well from the last time. Okay. So if you guys remember, the door cards were all falling apart. So we got them all redone. Just went with plain black. At the end of the day, again, it's a wheeling car. It's not so much for on road, but we still wanted to have the creature comforts. It's fully insulated. Besides the engine getting hot, even the gearbox gets hot as well. We are adding a few more switches because all the lightings are extra, and the 8 gang panel has no longer any space left behind. We 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 went from vinyl to like carpet material. People will be like, oh, why would you do that? It's an off-roading car. To be fair with you, this material that we use, it's still quite easy to clean, and we don't glue it down or anything, so it's still very easy to be taken apart and actually clean. Like, it's in sections, so you actually can still take it apart and clean, and it just gives the car a bit more, having a better finish, I would say, over vinyl. Like vinyl looks very industrial to me. It's practical, but it's still a bit industrial, if you know what I mean. Like, if you're a vegetable farmer or something, then no offense to vegetable farmers, but yeah, if you were, then go for it. And then the back, so yeah. So we still got the badges to put on, and those were the older trims. So we did carpeting all the way, and it just gives the car so much nicer finish, and it matches the trims very well. It's a very simple car. I think over next round, probably when the owner has time, is probably you got to change the roof lining and get rid of this. This was something that was added on. No long, it doesn't work anyway. It's no rear blower, so this is extra weight hanging on the roof. That's something for future. But the interior will still be done, and you still haven't decided on seats anyway. So that's something to decide. So for now, this is how it stays. Simple. We'll be just throwing off that gauge and adding works EGT and boost gauge, and then maybe down the road an ATF temp as well, right? Like a ATF gauge as well down the road. So for now, 2 gauges and then one more down the road. Right. I think that's it. No, overall, she's a lovely car. And the next thing that you'll probably see us is when I take it for a dyno run. I think that's when you'll be like, all the work that we did, whether it was even worthwhile or not. But as of overall, how she looks, I think it's lovely. Catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.